Hello and welcome to my AFC/NFC Championship predictions. This is going to be a very short video because there's only 2 games to talk about. So I will try to talk about these games for as long as I can. If you have any ideas for any sort of video, straight up tell me in the comments because I'm running out of things to do. Liking and subscribing is cool. Let's get straight into it. First off, we have 49ers versus Eagles. I mean, I didn't realize until I just started making this video how good these games are. Like how good they are going to be. Like these are some really intense matchups from what we are seeing. We have the 49ers with the Iowa State boy and Philadelphia and Jalen Hurts. Both teams have done extremely well this season. I'd say overall, the 49ers have dominated the most. They took one of their only losses was an absolute shit show at Bears. It was a completely rainy game. And then they lost at the Broncos. Like, those were 2 just terrible losses. They also lost at the Falcons. Basically, 3 of their losses are actually just trash. They got slaughtered by the Chiefs at the 49ers. But from there on, it is all 49ers. They beat the Cardinals. They beat the Rams. They beat the Chargers in a close game, but they beat them. They beat the Saints. They beat the crap out of the Dolphins. They beat the crap out of the Bucks. They barely beat the Seahawks. Then they beat the Commanders. They barely escaped the Raiders in overtime, and then they slaughtered the Cardinals. Postseason, they slaughtered the Seahawks, and then they walk away out of a very defensive game against the Cowboys. And yeah, that was how they went. The Eagles started off much stronger than the 49ers. It's kind of like the opposite for these teams. So they start off with a very close game at the Lions, but they walk away with a dub. That game looks a lot better now. They destroyed the Vikings 24-7. They destroyed the Commanders. They beat the Jaguars by 8. They barely beat the Cardinals. And then they beat the Cowboys. They slaughtered the Steelers. They slaughtered the Texans, and then they took a bad loss to the Commanders, barely beat the Colts, barely beat the Packers, slaughtered the Titans, slaughtered the Giants, beat the Bears, got beat by the Cowboys. They had a second string in that game, and then they got beat by the Saints, had a second string in that game, and then they beat the Giants in the last game of the season. And then in the postseason, their third time playing the Giants, they slaughtered them again. So from my interpretation of both of these teams is that the Eagles' defense is their weak link compared to their offense from what we've seen in high-scoring games and whatnot, and the amount of yards from Jalen Hurts and the rest of the offense. It looks to me like the Eagles are very high-powered, but the 49ers are a very defensive team with a high-power offense as well. The Eagles still have a very good defense, so I feel like this is kind of like it's very balanced match. A very good offense goes up against a very good defense, whereas a good offense goes up against a good defense. So this to me looks like perfect material for shootout. Maybe not like an absolute shootout, but definitely a high score. I say the 49ers will come out on top, pulling off the upset on the road versus the Eagles. The Eagles, they crushed the Giants, but we know, I mean, at least I believe that the Giants were very overrated this season, and 49ers, they've got a wave going right now for them. Their defense played outstandingly against the Cowboys, as well as their offense dominated the Seahawks. So this team to me looks like if they pull their shit together, which they have been, I'm just saying if they like keep it held together, they can beat this Eagles team. But the same thing goes for the Eagles. If the Eagles put on their A game, they could beat the 49ers very easily. But I'm going to give the benefit of the doubt to the 49ers. Feel like this is their second season in a row making it to the NFC Championship, and they lost it by a hair last year to the Super Bowl winner Rams. I don't know if they're going to allow that again. And I feel like it'll be a pretty balanced game with the 49ers just coming out on top. Next up, we have the Bengals versus the Chiefs. Let's go ahead and let's go ahead and look at the stats. Except I already know who I believe is gonna win this game. I'm pretty set on it. So we first start off the season for the Bengals. They start off rough. They lose in overtime to the Steelers. Then they lose by 3 to the Cowboys at the Cowboys. They beat the Jets, a good Jets team. Then they beat the crap out of the Dolphins. Or not really. They beat the Dolphins by 12. Ravens beat the Bengals. Bengals barely beat the Saints by 4. And then they beat the crap out of the Falcons. And then the Browns slaughter the Bengals. But then the Bengals slaughter the Panthers. Then in a shootout, the Bengals beat the Steelers. Then the Bengals barely beat the Titans. But then the Bengals beat the Chiefs. That was a big one. Bengals beat the Browns. Bengals beat the Bucks. Bengals beat the Patriots. Bills versus Bengals was canceled, but that game happened to be played, so we already know who the winner of that is. And then the Bengals beat the Ravens. The Bengals play the Ravens again, and they beat the Ravens. They shouldn't have won that game, but they did. And then they run over the Bills, yes, in a snow game, but let's be real now. I believe that would have happened if it wasn't a snow game as well. Sorry, Bills fans. That's just the honest truth. And now we see the Bengals at the Chiefs. The difference about the Chiefs-Bengals game last time is that it was at the Bengals. I feel like that was a difference maker. Cincinnati got up 14-3 in the second quarter against Chiefs. But then the Chiefs scored a touchdown in 2 minutes, 23 seconds to 10-14. Then they scored a touchdown. Then Cincinnati kicks a field goal. It was a very balanced game. And then the final 8 minutes and 54 seconds, this is a big one. The final 8 minutes and 54 seconds, Kansas City couldn't put up a field goal. That is good defense because there's 2 teams, actually 3 teams right now, who have such high-powered offenses. They can just go right down the field and kick a field goal. The Chiefs, the Bengals, and the Eagles, and maybe the Bills. The Bills did it all year, but I'm not too sure about calling them a high-powered offense. To hold the Chiefs, I don't know how many possessions, to hold the Chiefs 0 points in the fourth quarter. You don't even let Mahomes go down the field and kick a field goal. To hold them to 3, that's impressive, which means that the Bengals that to me means the Bengals actually have a defense. There was only 1 turnover in the game, and it was by the Chiefs. It was a fumble. Both teams, actually, I was about to say both teams had even stats, but the Bengals topped them by 100 yards. Let's see what the rushing was. It looks like the rushing game was much better for the Bengals by about 40 yards. And overall, Joe Burrow threw the ball way more than Mahomes did and got more yards. It was a very balanced offensive game, but what really showed in those final minutes was that the Bengals defense can bail their team out. They can definitely bail their team out. But now let's go ahead and talk about the Chiefs. The Chiefs started off very strong, beating the crap out of the Cardinals at the Cardinals, which at the time we didn't think the Cardinals were going to be absolute garbage. You know, we had a decent lineup. Then the Chiefs go play the Chargers, who this was a Thursday night game. This was like the Chargers were thought to be one of the best teams this year, like 13-4, finishing off 13-4 and whatnot. And the Chiefs beat them by 3 at the Chiefs. But then the Chiefs take a weird loss at the Colts. I still have no idea how that happened, but I feel like every team has that loss. Then the Chiefs beat the Bucks in a shootout. Then the Chiefs beat the Raiders by a point. Bills beat the Chiefs on the road. Chiefs beat the 49ers 44-23 on the road. That's a huge game, showing that they have that high-powered offense, and then they can hold a decent offense to points. It's not like the 49ers. Let's see what the 49ers had. It was 28-23 in the fourth at the start of the fourth quarter. And from there on, it was Chiefs. Yeah. Nothing much to be said there. Actually, they got a safety. Hold up. A safety on Jimmy G in the end zone, which gave them the ball back, which they would turn into a touchdown, a 45-yard pass touchdown. Chiefs got an offense. We know this, but the Chiefs got an offense. But then they go against the Titans and win in overtime by 3. They beat the Jags by 10 at home. They beat the Chargers on the road by 3. Then they beat the crap out of the Rams. Then they lose to the Bengals. Then the Chiefs barely beat the Broncos. Chiefs beat the Texans in overtime. Also to either a pick or a fumble. I can't remember. It put them right in perfect position. And then the Broncos versus the Chiefs. Chiefs walk away with a 3-point victory, and then they slaughter the Raiders. Their first postseason game, they beat the Jags by 7. And the I wouldn't even say the Chiefs held them. I'd say that was more from what I saw, the Jags just folding themselves. They threw a pass, a little check down pass, fumble. Then Trevor Lawrence threw a pass to the defense, and it intercepted. They just were getting handed the ball. I'm not too sure. I definitely think, though, from what we've seen, from what the stats say, the Bengals, they look to me like they are the better team. The losses they had look like shit, but they were all at the beginning of the season, right? They bounced back very solidly and are on a massive winning streak, whereas the Chiefs very consistently won 3-point games, and 2 overtime games. And I mean, I'm not going to say the Chiefs are the loser here. This to me looks like it's just too, it looks to me like it is two high-powered offenses right now. And we saw this matchup last year with the Bengals taking it home. I'm going to say the Chiefs have the benefit. They're at home. Mahomes doesn't want to lose another AFC championship like that. The Bengals, yes, they are very good. They will put up a fight, but I'm not too sure they'll walk away with this one. I'm not too sure. I'm going to say the Chiefs are going to win this one in overtime. This one is going to be, I hope it is going to be an absolutely fantastic game. Both championships, but this one in particular because it goes into overtime and whatnot. These two teams would definitely, both of them could beat the 49ers and the Eagles. Hot take, I know, but I definitely believe the Bengals could beat the Eagles and the Bengals could beat the 49ers. The Chiefs could beat the Eagles and the Chiefs could beat the 49ers right now. I believe that. I believe the AFC they are probably going to be our Super Bowl winner. We shall see. Of course, things change, injuries and whatnot. Things will change. But I do believe that the Chiefs will win this. The AFC was very good this year, and I really hope these are some good games. And with that being said, again, like and subscribe. If you have a video idea, leave it in the comments because I'm running out of ideas. And that's all for me. Adios.